So the big question is this: how do small businesses like yours, who feel like you're doing all the right things and going to all the right events, reach the federal buyer in a way that helps you win more contracts? That is the question, and this is the place to get your answers. My name is Neil McDonnell. Welcome to the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Okay, let's get started. My name is Neil McDonnell with the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm going to talk to you about LinkedIn. This will be one of many videos I intend on putting out there on YouTube over the years. I might try to compile them all together into the Chamber and a website course or something for you. But right now, these are going to be quick LinkedIn tips, and today's tip is going to be around understanding your social selling index. And so I'll talk about that in a minute. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is we have a lot of these tips under the GovCon website. So go ahead to the homework series or the library, and you'll actually find additional social media type tips. One of the things about LinkedIn, when you get out here, is you'll find that you have a social selling index. And the social selling index is really just a way to rate yourself on social media using LinkedIn's tool. And it rates basically your activity, right? I'm not going to go in and try to teach you the intricacies of LinkedIn. That's what LinkedIn Learning's for. And you can just, click on the question marks that you see and learn more about it. I'll give you a couple of tips as we go along. But before I go too much further on LinkedIn, I want you to understand where I put this in perspective to other social media. My videos are all for people who are in the GovCon contracting space. Anybody who's any small business in particular, but even large businesses here, if you're selling to the federal government, LinkedIn is your social media platform. You'll hear people talk about Facebook, and you hear them talk about Twitter. You might even hear them talk about other stuff, but there's only one social media platform, engagement platform, and that's LinkedIn. It's the professional network. It's why people say your profile on LinkedIn is your professional resume or your social media resume, if you will. But Facebook is for families. It's where you're sharing your kids' cat videos, vacation videos, things like that. And Twitter, I don't like it at all because it is so rapid and fast that things go through so fast that the engagement tends to be around conversations of the trending conversations, et cetera. So things that are hot. I know that other people will talk about how those two platforms could be valuable, and hey, the Navy's out there on Facebook. That will never change my opinion, but so that's the beauty of hearing different people's opinions. You'll hear why I value LinkedIn over any other platform, and I totally respect somebody else's opinion on theirs. I just disagree with it, right? So the other thing is keep in mind about LinkedIn, Facebook, or any of these is that you really only have the bandwidth to maintain one. If you're doing more than one, then I would submit that you really don't have a lot of activity going on with business development capture because you need to be calling the government. You need to be calling your teaming partners. So there's only really so much room to focus on one platform, and LinkedIn is it. And I'm going to give you some examples in a minute on how that really works. One other side platform that you might consider, and it touches more on when as more of a repository, and that's YouTube. Right. So if you're putting videos out there, that's the place to put them and to be able to just take advantage of Google search and all that kind of stuff. But that's not really a social media platform to me. Social media platform to me means engagement. Are you able to talk back and forth? So inside of LinkedIn, there's hundreds of groups of people who come together and talk about federal government contracting. They talk about cybersecurity, any topic you have, it's in here, and there's groups, and you can find other professionals. And everybody in here is used to the fact that LinkedIn is a networking tool, and we are reaching back and forth among each other. So anyways, social selling index basically is rating how well am I doing using LinkedIn to reach the network I hope to reach. So I have actually two networks. It's small businesses in particular, right? Small business, anybody who's working for a small business, especially the small business owners. I want to reach them because I'm trying to provide them tons of tips about the process of government contracting. And the other audience are the federal buyers, whether they're in the acquisition side, the small business professionals, or even more importantly to me is the program office personnel who they share stuff on LinkedIn. I try to track that and get it back. Or if I share something and they provide value. I'll give you a quick story before I move on to this tip. And in the future, I'll try to not to go too many sideways, but I just posted something today, and today is March 9th. I just posted something today, and within a couple of hours, I got somebody from one of the federal agencies out there that's a primary agency who's commenting on what I put out there, and they're putting their 2 cents in, which to me is hugely valuable, because then I can piggyback on that and learn more about that person, see what they're writing, and see how that might influence my BD or capture effort I'm doing for my small business, of, if I'm driving one forward. And that's after I haven't been on in a while. And that's coming back to today's tip. I took almost a year off of LinkedIn, primarily so that I could focus on other activities during the 2020 COVID era. I just wanted to focus on other stuff. And so I came off LinkedIn strategically, and I have this social selling index, and it's 70 right now. That's the lowest I have ever had. I went back and I track my scores every single day. I just quickly put them into a spreadsheet so I can see what's going on, see if I'm maintaining some good activity, and seeing if the work I'm doing is engaging the audience I want to reach. So I track my score every day, and I went back and looked, and over the last, since the beginning of 2019, it's been 73 was the lowest I ever had. So 70 is a new low. The highest I've ever had is 85. And don't overly read it, right? What you want to do is just engage. Some of you, you're going to come in and you're going to see your scores are like 30. I am very engaged on LinkedIn. I think you should be as well, but I make a purpose of being engaged on here. So I want a higher number. What you want is just to improve, right? You want to not have thousands and thousands of connections. You want to have the right connections that reach you. And this score, part of it is talking about, for example, right here, it says finding the right people. This one in the middle, it's 1868 out of 25. And, so that's, am I using LinkedIn to find the right connections? But anyways, so 70 is the lowest, and I'm going to target 86. I want to get to 86 because that's the highest I've ever been. And as I'm going that way, I want to record some videos and just show you, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's some of the content I'm creating, some of the activity I'm doing. And in the beginning, it might seem a little bit more mechanical because I'm trying to reach a score, but that's never a bad thing. It's like practicing for a play before you go live on opening night, right? The practice is necessary. And so if I feel a little bit more mechanical, I'm strategically going into a group and commenting on somebody's comments, or content, that's not a bad thing. And then as I use this more and more, I'll begin again to find the right places for me that the people I want to follow, especially their content, and share it to my connections. I'll identify them. And so then I'll be doing less practicing and really engaging at the levels that I want to be. So anyways, I'm at 70 here. You can see they provide some other details. My company, I don't have anybody in there, so it's not a big deal. If you're in a company that's got 50 or more employees, that might be an interesting rank for you to have. If you're in HR, you should consider having your employees do a little survey on this. I'm in Sales Navigator, by the way. This is a paid version of LinkedIn, but this is a free page within any unpaid version of LinkedIn as well. You just got to find the link up in the menus. But you see, I'm at 3% in my industry and 10% in my network. So my industry is IT and technology, let's say, and my network is everybody. I have about 16,000, I think, connections. And so of those, my social selling index is in the top 10%. When you see me go up, my goal is to have it 1% across the board at the top here, 1% in the team, 1% in the industry, and 1% in the network. That's actually going to be easier for me to do than 86. I've told you I've never been higher than 85, but I've been very engaged in LinkedIn in the past, and I should have been higher than 85. So I don't know what it takes to go above that, but it's very easy to get to the top 1% of your network. You can see this right here. That, for the people who were in there, my entire network, 51 out of 100. So here they're talking about, the average SSI for what the folks have in there. And it's much lower than mine. So it'll be fine. Okay. So that was the video on that. I wanted to show you one more thing that's related to this on reporting. And this is in my LinkedIn. Inside of LinkedIn, you can see how many people have looked at your profile over the last 90 days. And this is important because we're not trying to hide, right? I'm in particular talking to people who are in sales of one way or another: capture, business development, business ownership, If your job as a small business professional or contracting officer, contracting specialist is to engage industry, then you want more people viewing your profile because it means they're looking at your content, et cetera. So my number here, it might seem high to you, 248 people looked at it in the last 90 days, but for me, it's very low. And so you're gonna see this go up massively. It's gonna be similar to this one here, which just gone up a little bit at a time. You'll see as I start going over in the next week or two, it'll pop up very fast and you'll start seeing massive growth, 25+% in the green every week. And again, it's partly a numbers game, right? You're looking at it and you're playing it like the stock market or something, but it's a reflection of the effort I'm putting in to LinkedIn to reach the audience that I want to reach. If I'm putting out content just for the sake of putting out content, I'm not going to reach people. They'll eventually, they'll look at it early on, but they'll get used to the fact that I'm not sharing anything and they'll just go away. So in this case, what I want to do is to reach those contracting officers. I want to reach like this guy I did this morning. I put out a post, it got 1,000 views. That's what I want, right? I want to put out a piece of content that my connections find value in. And as you watch what I do, and feel free to connect with me, obviously on LinkedIn, but as you watch what I do, don't repeat what I'm doing. Just see how you can drop stuff out there. One last thing I'll tell you is I put out a video called not a video, I think it was like a whole course, mini course on how to be a subject matter expert or prove that you're a subject matter expert. And you can watch that and it'll help you understand the content stuff. And then as you watch what I do on LinkedIn, you can mimic my approach, my process. You just don't need to mimic my content because theoretically your connections won't be as interested in that. They'll be interested in what your core competencies are. So anyways, that was a quick tip. I hope you found it valuable. And if you did, others will too. Please give it a thumbs up so they can find it. If you'd like to connect with me personally, obviously do so right here on LinkedIn. We often do free training webinars and interview federal buyers. Sign up for the GovCon Chamber's email list to be notified about these opportunities right here at www.govconchamber.com. And finally, please consider becoming a sustaining member of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Help us keep bringing you great content like this for $1 a day. I'm Neil McDonnell, wishing you great success.